Good evening. Thanks for joining us. The Brown County Sheriff's Office today released the name of the inmate they say attacked an officer back in October.
Suspect's been identified as a man awaiting trial on 2 charges of first-degree intentional homicide and multiple counts of bail jumping. We first alerted you 49-year-old Richard Sotka is accused of killing 2 women on Green Bay's east side. He is currently being held on a $2 million cash bond. In a first alert update, Samantha Cavalli was in court for Sotka's initial appearance for this new charge. She joins us now live outside the Brown County Courthouse with more. Samantha.
Bill and Cammie, that's right. So court documents say that the correctional officer felt uncomfortable around Sotka earlier this year, back in August, when he was doing conducted cell searches 2 months actually prior to the alleged attack. Now, these court documents say that back in the early morning hours of October 12th, the correctional officer announced a search at Sotka's cell. After his search, the officer confiscated illegal items found in the cell. The officer not telling Sotka what he took. This is when Sotka became angry. He then struck the correctional officer with a fist to the left ear. Officers called for backup as he continued to hit the correctional officer on his head. Once separated, the victim felt dizzy, his jaw hurt, and scratches and cuts were bleeding lightly on his face. Once taken to the hospital, the correctional officer was diagnosed with a concussion. The state today asking the court to grant a $20,000 cash bond. They also made a request that the victim and Sotka not have contact with each other.
Because of the victim's status as a corrections officer, I understand that a blanket no contact order might be functionally difficult, but we'd ask that the court enter it anyway, and that might help lead to changes internally to allow these 2 individuals not to have contact with each other.
Now, the public defender said that Sotka and the victim, this correctional officer, it might be hard to have some no contact because they are in a confined space. However, the court commissioner today granting that request and also granting the prosecution's request of $20,000 for cash bond. Now, Sotka will be back in December regarding these charges. Reporting live in Green Bay, Samantha Cavalli, Action 2 News.